It was a typical Friday evening in the small town of Ravenswood, nestled in the heart of the Pacific Northwest. The sun had dipped below the horizon, casting a warm orange glow over the quaint streets lined with antique shops and family-owned restaurants. But amidst the tranquility, a sense of unease settled over the local community like a shroud. For tonight was the night of the infamous Ravenswood Ball, an annual gala where the town's elite gathered to flaunt their wealth and connections. The event was always a spectacle, but this year's lineup promised to be particularly decadent. As guests arrived at the grand estate of millionaire entrepreneur Julian Blackwood, they were greeted by the sound of champagne corks popping and the distant thrum of a live jazz band. But amidst the revelry, something seemed off. It started with small talk among the guests' whispers about a mysterious new family in town, the Smiths, who had recently moved into the sprawling mansion on the hill. Their patriarch, Henry Smith, was an enigmatic figure with a reputation for ruthlessness and cunning. The townspeople were wary of him, but they couldn't help being drawn to his charismatic wife, Emma, a ravishing beauty with piercing green eyes that seemed to see right through you. As the evening wore on, the partygoers began to mingle, exchanging stories about their lives and interests. But it wasn't long before tensions rose to the surface. A heated argument erupted between Henry Smith and Julian Blackwood over a disputed business deal gone sour. The crowd watched in rapt attention as the two men's faces turned red with anger. Emma Smith stepped in, her voice laced with honey, but it only seemed to fuel the flames. "You're just mad because you lost, Julian," she said, her eyes flashing with malice. "You can't even begin to comprehend what it takes to be a true winner." The room fell silent as Julian's face contorted in rage. But before things could escalate further, a sudden chill ran through the air. A scream pierced the night, followed by a blood-curdling shriek that sent shivers down the spines of everyone present. When the guests turned to see what was happening, they were met with a sight that would haunt them for years to come. In the center of the dance floor, surrounded by candles and champagne glasses, lay Julian Blackwood, his eyes frozen in terror, his body twisted at an unnatural angle. The crowd froze, unsure of what to do next. And then, like a ghostly apparition, Emma Smith vanished into thin air. If you thought things couldn't get worse, it did, at least for Julian Blackwood's family and the guests who had just witnessed his brutal murder. As the reality of what had transpired began to sink in, panic set in. Anyone needed to call the police, but in their haste, no one seemed to think of grabbing a phone. It was as if they were all frozen in place, unsure of how to react or what to do next. The music stopped, and an eerie silence fell over the estate. Emma Smith's disappearance had only added to the chaos, leaving everyone wondering if she'd orchestrated the whole thing or been a victim herself. Detective Jameson, a gruff but fair-minded man with years of experience in small-town policing, was the first to arrive on the scene. He pushed his way through the crowd, his eyes scanning the area for any signs of evidence or suspects. "What happened?" he asked the nearest guest, a flustered-looking woman who seemed on the verge of tears. "I don't know," she stammered. "We were just dancing and then there was this scream." Jameson nodded grimly and turned to one of his officers, a young man named Rodriguez, who had just arrived with a team of forensic experts. "Get forensics started on the scene ASAP," he instructed. "I want every inch of this place canvassed for any signs of struggle or evidence of what we might be dealing with here." As the police began their work, tensions among the guests continued to rise. Some were openly crying, while others looked like they'd been punched in the gut. Julian's wife, Sophia, stood off to one side, her eyes fixed on some point beyond the crowd as if searching for a ghost. She was shaking uncontrollably, and Jameson made his way over to comfort her. "Ma'am, I'm so sorry," he said softly. "Do you have any idea what might have?" Sophia's head snapped up, her eyes flashing with anger. "This is all because of them, the Smiths," she spat. "They've been causing trouble in this town for months. First, they steal your business deals out from under you, and then—" She trailed off, unable to continue. Jameson nodded sympathetically. "We'll look into it, ma'am, but right now we need to focus on finding whoever did this." As the detective spoke, Emma Smith reappeared at the edge of the crowd, a serene smile playing on her lips. She made her way through the guests, her eyes locking onto Jameson as if daring him to come after her. "Detective," she said, her voice dripping with sweetness. "I think you're looking for me." Jameson's eyes narrowed. "We were just starting to review the footage from the security cameras," he said coolly. "But I think it would be best if you came down to the station and answered a few questions." Emma laughed, a throaty sound that sent shivers down the spines of those around her. "I'd love to," she said. "But first, can I have just 1 minute?" She turned to Sophia Blackwood, who stood frozen in shock. "Don't worry, dear," Emma said, her voice dripping with condescension. "Your husband's gone. He won't be bothering you anymore." As the guests watched in horror, Emma reached out and touched Sophia's face, leaving a faint smudge of lipstick on her cheek. The room erupted into chaos as everyone tried to get away from Emma, but Jameson caught her arm, holding her fast. "Not so fast," he said grimly. "You're coming with me." And with that, the game was afoot, and no one knew what they were up against. Story. Part 3, Confrontation and Escalation. Story. Part 4, The Climax, Resolution, and Loop.